We're on. We have energy. Good evening, everyone. Om Shanti, and welcome to Harmony House in person. We're trying to do this perhaps once a month, and we'll see how it goes. And I want to say hello to everybody on Zoom, and I hope some of you can make it in future weeks that we do this. And I'm so delighted to see everybody in person. And so we have a larger audience than you may think we have here. So welcome everyone, everyone. So as you know, the theme of the month, anybody here for the first time? Anybody on Zoom for the first time? Unfortunately, I don't see a screen, but if you are new, raise your hand so other people can welcome you in person as I say welcome this evening. Okay, so our theme for the month has been life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If that sounds familiar, it's Thomas Jefferson, whose final version of the Declaration of Independence included that expression. And Thomas Jefferson was not a politician who did a whole lot, I think, personal opinion, but he gave us vision. He gave us hope. He gave us a way to treat each other. And originally was called Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Property. So he was all involved in a slavery issue. And he said, no, 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 we don't pursue that. We pursue happiness for all human beings. So that's a little something that I learned in my research that I never knew before. Very interesting. And our topic tonight, and we do have Brother Erik, whom you all know, I'm sure. Have you seen Brother Erik before? Everyone, he's the voice from above here at Harmony House, on Zoom or not. And our topic is pursuing happiness. And if you read the flyer, you know that he's going to be concerned with how we do that. And he makes a pretty bold statement in his comment saying that he's not going to chase happiness. He's not going to pursue it. He's going to be, capital B, capital E. So if you've been coming here, you pretty much know, but it's always interesting how Brother Erik, what he has up his sleeve for us all, you know? So let me ask you, how many of you are happy to be here tonight? How many of you are happy to be here because you weren't so happy before you got here? Good. Okay. And what could break that happiness once this session ends? What could make you lose it? Thinking about what? That you wish were different. Okay, so things don't go my way, so I'm not so happy anymore, right? Are you still happy? What could spoil your happiness when you go home? That could spoil it? Okay. Okay, sure. Media, TV, what's going on in the world. Okay. Anybody else want to comment? So there are things that happen that can spoil our happiness. But Brother Erik is saying, no, that's not true. Can you imagine being happy anyway? For example, I'll give you my example before I introduce him. I'm having a very special guest for a week at my home. It's my granddaughter, who's 14, who's traveling alone from California. We have permission to pick her up at the gate because she's not 18. We'll have passes. And she will be with us, and then she'll see her cousins. I've only seen my granddaughter twice a year, I would say, except for COVID. Didn't see them since she was 2. They don't come to New York very often. My son came right away. And I was very happy to get the theater tickets to the show she wanted to see. I was very happy that her cousins would be in town so she could see them. She hasn't seen them in a year. There were things that made me very happy. But as I'm thinking of her visit and the tears when we leave California, and I whispered in her ear last time, when you love somebody a lot, it's hard. So the proper love that comes from a different place inside of me, that part of me is wishing and knowing that if I keep the focus on loving her well and being the Nana that she knows, then I've transported our relationship to something divine. I'm going to say that. Because in times when she's cried, she knows she can come to me, she can come to her papa, and we are there for her. And she knows that even though she hasn't seen us a whole lot in her short life. So there's something we touch. And I'm going to make sure that I milk this week for as much nectar as I possibly can. But it's different from the Nana before she came here, who always thought, honestly, how am I doing? How do you be a grandma? It's the ego, the ego, the ego. And I've known freedom. I'm even going to stay small in the drama of lokic relationships, relationships with family, not here. But the idea here to love purely is something that I pursue because it's real, it's authentic. So we have limited happiness and we have unlimited happiness. So when people say, no matter what, you can find that happy thread, usually involves helping someone else for me. Anyway, that's enough out of me. And I know Brother Erik must have things up his sleeve. He always surprises me. So he is going to be happy and teach you how to be happy, quote, from the depth of your soul. And he's been a Raj Yoga instructor, facilitator of retreats for over 40 years. And he, his personality. He hates when I do a long introduction, so I'm going to cut it short and just say that I am personally really quite happy to bring him to you tonight, introduce him to you tonight. Okay, Brother Erik? And before that, he was a civil engineer and he's retired from that and very active in the UN with our delegation there. So, okay, that's enough. All right, Brother Erik, the microphone is yours. Om Shanti.
Oh, hello. Okay, that might work a little better. Lovely to be in Global Harmony House on a Thursday night. That was our routine. Our routine had changed, but it is our hope and our goal to have things in person. And the ones that I'm aware of is tonight. And once a month on a Thursday, we're going to try to have that. And so welcome everybody to show up in person. I will speak from my experience. This is a different venue than where I watch the programs on Zoom. And I like coming here. I like the meditation. I like the quiet beforehand. And I hope that that vibration is welcoming and hoping that you will want to do that. And we are also going to try to have a workshop once a month, at least. And that'll be in person. So we're kind of a little pokey in doing everything, but a lot of other people are pokey too in coming out from their hibernation and such. So welcome to our Thursday night insight. And we get inspired for the topics regularly about what's going on. And sometime in June, we must have thought, July has a holiday, Independence Day, 4th of July. And so why don't we use that? And so I think that was our underlying theme: life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And what's wonderful for me on Thursday night topics is the chance to think about them and then let them rest a little, those thoughts, and then see what comes up from that. And there was a nice analogy that made sense to me. That when you are engaged spiritually or anything, and you think about something and you put it off to the side, it gives it a chance to transform different. And somehow the idea of yogurt came to mind. Okay. Have you ever made yogurt? Okay. You have a little culture from somewhere and you heat up some milk and, and then you put that in there and it cools and then you just let it be. And then somehow another is like, oh my gosh, it's changed. And that process for me of holding spiritual ideas or thoughts or topics, pursuing happiness, it was the same thing. Well, I had a couple initial thoughts and I kind of write those down to get them out of my head. And then they kind of, I don't know if coagulate's the right word, but they would transform. It was like, oh, now I see it a little differently. And so the more I think about it, the more I see things and such comes up. And so I thought tonight I would share a couple things. And one, if I can read that, is straight from the Constitution. Might as well start from that. How many of you were inspired on Independence Day to reread the Constitution? Hands up. Okay, yeah, I'm not surprised. For those at home that didn't raise your hand, you had a lot of company. It's not something that we would normally do. I didn't grow up like, hey, it's 4th of July, let's reread the Constitution. Maybe that's a tradition somewhere. But I thought, well, let's listen to a little of it, if you don't mind. And that's what's the theme is from. But it says from the Constitution. And that's United States. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men, and they kind of had their ways back then, are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Okay, so that is somewhat familiar to you, but that's kind of the jumping off point that our conversations have been at, and want to work with those because one of the key aspects is rights. These are our rights, and the government is going to help enforce that, protect that. They are yours. And so sometimes it's easy to see how the first one is life. If you are a citizen of the United States, you have a right to be alive. And if somebody tries to take that away from you, we throw them in jail or we punish them. And so that we kind of enforce that. And we've all somewhat, if you want, these are generalizations. We've all come together and said, yes, we all have the right to live. And if someone wants to take that away, we're going to do something about it. And we, as governors and people who hire the government and run the government and choose to be governed, get some people to do that, police and whatever, right? You have a right to be alive. No one can take that away. And the government says that, that's for you. I'm kind of happy for that personally. That's kind of a good thing. And I'm assuming there were times and societies where you didn't have the right. Okay, if I decided for whatever reason that didn't like you, that's what I did. And if people didn't stop me, then that right was not there. So we have a right to be alive, and the government protects that. Life, liberty. Liberty is also a right. And, this is one of the yogurt making experiments. What does liberty mean? Okay. Liberty Bell, Liberty this, Liberty Quarter. We use the term a lot, but it's like, well, what is it? And so I did a little thinking about that. And sometimes it's interchanged with freedom. And I think we had one of the topics this month on freedom and whatever it is. And the difference to me, my understanding now, that it's a right that's protected, liberty. And going to try to see if I can paint a picture in your mind. And that would be you with a shackle connected to a wall. Okay. Can you see yourself having this chain around your leg and you're connected to a wall? You aren't free. You don't have liberty. You're stuck. You're there. Everybody see that? Now I want you to take that shackle off and step aside. And now you no longer are bound by that. And you are free. And you are at liberty. And the difference to me is that when I am free, it's a personal statement. My way of looking is at myself. I am free. Okay. So I'm looking at myself. But when I'm at liberty, I'm looking at the shackle. I am no longer bound by something. And I am at liberty from an outside influence. They're the kind of the same situation, but different perspective on who you are. I am free, okay? And you have that feeling. But if you look back and say, now I'm liberated, I'm at liberty. And that's what's protected by the government. Life, liberty, that there shouldn't be any outside forces that stop you. You are free, but you are at liberty. And so, when you are free, you don't look back, you kind of move forward. But when you're liberty, you're kind of looking around. That's how I understand that. I hope that makes some sense, that the government is going to protect you. And you hear a lot in the news about my liberties and your liberties and which one is more important and my rights and your rights. And I have and the whole country argues about all those things. We're not going to pick an argument. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. So we're not going to have that way of interacting, but the government protects us from outside liberties, not only to keep us alive, but to keep us free. It will stop others from limiting us. And then we get to kind of pursuing happiness, the pursuit of happiness. And there was a hint at that there was discussions in the writing of the Constitution. And some wanted it to be certain things and others and this. And this is where I find it very interesting, because what actually did that mean and what do they mean and how do we interpret that? And kind of bring a couple threads together and see if it might make some sense for us here, Global Harmony House, on what we do, because we meditate, we think of ourselves as spiritual, and we have a relation with the creator in that sense. So there's kind of a dovetail into that. But when we think of the pursuit of happiness, it was one time thought that it would just be having stuff, accumulating, the accumulation of goods, pursuit of acquiring. And that was not used, different ideas. But the pursuit of happiness was more about an idea, and wanted to share another little excerpt that I found very interesting. And this kind of describes a little of the history of that phraseology. The pursuit is one of the unalienable rights, unalienable and natural rights that Jefferson found so irresistible. But it dates back well before and he was influenced by a French philosopher, Locke, before his time. It is indeed traceable to the 5th century BC, and the Greek philosophers, they referred to eudaimonia the Greek term for happiness, connected as performing the right action that results in the well-being of individuals. Happiness is a state of being based on morality, virtue, and utility, not an acquisition. In other words, humanity achieves its peak actualization by living a good life full of positive actions and not by acquiring things to demonstrate one lived successfully. And so that sense of happiness is a state of being that we want to offer that is our right because it's who we are. The pursuit of happiness is the sense that I am alive. And when you think about some of the concepts that we talk about who we are, our natural qualities, our spiritual awareness, and that we can access that at any time. Peace, love, happiness, joy, those are our natural state of being. And if we can have that awareness, then we can also recognize that the founders, the writers, were writing from a spiritual perspective. And so I find that quite fascinating. That this isn't just rules and kind of laws, but it is tapping into the spiritual nature. And want to kind of support my document or my thesis on that, because our money is God-based. What does it say on the back? In God we trust. Have you ever looked at the dollar bill closely, analyzed it, know what the Latin phrases are, know what the pyramid means, know what the eye on the top means, know what the eagle means? There's a lot of symbolism in this, and they take power from that. And there's that sense. And one of the fascinating things I found when I was looking at it is, what do we call this? What is this? And how much of that currency is it? $1. Very good. Very good. One of our future topics is, what is money? Okay. But it's $1. Okay. And have you ever written a check or something like that? How do you differentiate that it is not European, but it's American? There's a dollar sign, and the dollar sign has long history. It does. And lots of different stories about it. But the one that seems to be there is the snake on the cross. Okay. And brings in that element of Christianity and vice, and the two of them. And I think the medical people have the cross and the snake. And but it is not just something that somebody made up. They were pulling from a variety of different resources because of the spiritual nature that they wanted our country to be founded upon. And I'm going to be very clear that it's a spiritual group. There were Masons and a variety of things, but it's not just a one religion group. Okay, some have taken that and such. That's another topic and another conversation for another place. But the dollar, where it's from, what does it mean? What is the sign? What's on our money? Just kind of mentioning and skipping through some of those to highlight that my interpretation is that they wanted a spiritual foundation for us, and happiness is a right they wanted to protect. And with that understanding that they were talking about a spiritual happiness, a state of being. And that kind of ties into some of the things that I have learned through Raja Yoga, the practice and such like that, is what is the best way to lead my life? How do I want to be happy? And, it's kind of simple as far as I understand it, is that I like to do things. Okay. And I like to show up at Harmony House once in a while. You can do things too. I'm inspiring you. Come next time we have it here. To be a part and such, and feel alive. The Constitution protects you to feel alive, for you not to just get stuff and think that that's happiness, but actually to experience life. And part of that, the pursuit of happiness, is how it was phrased. But pursuing happiness makes more sense to me, because pursuing is an action. And the Constitution and our founders on a spiritual base want us to be happy by being active and alive. And one of the principles that we have here that you've heard, better to give than receive. We've talked about that some, probably not for a while, but why is that true? Why is it better to give than receive? And I'm sure all of you have thought about giving a gift, shopped for it, wrapped it, gave it to someone. They were happy. They liked what they were given. And you were happy also. Okay, there was that feeling that was generated. And that sense of we are going to be happy by doing something. And in the description, that it is a chance for us as citizens to spiritually recognize our truths and apply those and give something to each other. Not to take. I believe that our Constitution, the pursuit of happiness, is that the government and other people around you will protect your right to do something, to be happy, which in turn helps the community. If you do your job well, and I do my job well, and everybody's giving something, it works out. And that's kind of the vision I think that they had in mind, that everybody has the right to be and to do something. And in that sense, there's this flow of energy. I'm getting something, I want to do something, I share that in the community. And one of the laws that we talk about here, law of karma, action, reaction. So if I am doing something and if I'm giving something, what automatically happens in some way or process comes back. And so my happiness is based on being active and alive and participating in society. And I believe that that's what the pursuit of happiness is all about. And that action, that if I can put those all together, that I have spiritual qualities, I have a connection to a creator, just as all of you do and all of our country and actually all the world does. And if I recognize that, and I know that I have been given a life and I am freed from outside influences, my opportunity is to use my life in order to help others, because that's how happiness is accessed. Now, I can sit and be happy, but it's a much different process to be engaged with others. And I'm kind of offering and pushing all that in your direction, so that you might be able to think about, what is happiness? When am I most happy? What do I do? And for me, it is being engaged in doing something and having a goal and setting that and sharing that. And, in that process, there was a culture comes to mind that was thinking about, and who they honored was not the one who had the most, but the one who could give the most. Okay. And it wasn't for glory or expectations, that they were wanting to do that. It was just because of the generosity that they could share, they had, and they was able to give. And so they were happy to be able to do that. And so there was great respect for that. It wasn't, I've accumulated this is mine, let me put a fence around it and let me worry about it. No, totally different operating system. What can you give? What do you offer? Because that awareness of when I am giving, when I am acting, when am I performing an action, when I'm sharing, when I am free to do that, I am at my most blessed state. I am achieving what is protected. I have an opportunity. The government isn't going to make you happy. That's not the point. It's going to protect the right for you to make yourself happy. Pursuing happiness, pursuit of happiness. And so when we think about that, what do we do that makes us happy? What in our own lives do we draw from what profound individuals were inspired to put down on paper to guide a whole country? And how do I participate in that? How am I a good citizen? By being happy, making myself happy, doing things that bring benefit to the community, and understanding what that really means. And sometimes it's just, taking care of yourself, taking care of family, taking care of job, taking care of and behaving in a certain way. And I don't hear much of that in conversations. Now, I don't have a lot of conversations with everybody on the planet. But it seems to me that understanding, I guess there's some advertised, I couldn't tell you what it is, but National Day of Service. Has anybody heard of that? That's too bad. That there's somehow get out National Day of Service and do something and help. But it's kind of a nice thing, but it's like one day a year to go out and do something for somebody else, and so where have we come in understanding what it is that is the foundation of really a good society? Taking care of the self, helping others, providing something so that you in turn receive something, and that is a spiritual experience. I think it's wonderful. I'm, kind of going off on my own here, to think that the writers had this sense that a spiritual foundation would keep everybody together, and that when they were able to create this happiness of sharing and participating, everything would work out. And the intent tonight is not to figure out how to make America great again. Kind of see the right thing. Totally different angle on that, not like it was 20 years ago, but maybe 220 years ago. See how that might work out. But if there was that sense of understanding and recognizing and achieving and actually applying some of the principles that we teach here. Okay, law of karma is a big one. That flow of energy. If you stop doing something, it stops. And so if you hold on to something or don't have it and aren't giving it away, the systems break down. And so, the law of karma, the pursuit of happiness are the same thing. Whatever you do is what you're going to get. And if you have that recognition of how systems work, they have to flow, you have to give, it has to come, then you have to participate right there. That would be very interesting if there would have been somebody else writing life, liberty, and the law of karma. The government will protect your karma. You will get it back. No, we'll make sure. See how that goes. But when we start to have that awareness that we are actually, for me, living in a country, spiritual principles, we have this, you can stay alive, you can be free from external forces, and you have the chance, you have the right to act in a way that makes you happy. It is not, it is in front of you or postponed. Do you know anybody? Have you ever done this? I will be happy when this happens. I will be relieved. I will be this when this happens. And you keep pushing it into the future. There's nice little stories of people who are, oh, if I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. If I could only do this, and kind of race through life. And at the end, it's like, well, what was that all about? Never got what I thought I was going to get. And so, not to postpone, not to hold on to, I will be happy when this, I will be peaceful if you do this. I will, if that, if and kind of a statement, I will be this if, you do this, if this happens. That doesn't work. That's not what the Constitution's about at all. It is, you have the right now to do something and feel the way that you want. You don't have to postpone it. It isn't there. You can pursue, you can participate. It is not being separated from you. It is a right that we hold, that we are allowed to pursue. And what I'd like to do is just go into a meditation of that, a little reflection at this time. Hope those are some provoking thoughts about self and the writers and our history and where we're at and what that might mean and what we might do. But if everybody wouldn't mind, take a deep breath and exhale and relax, and see if you can imagine 220 some years ago, there were individuals thinking about what is fundamental in our life, in the lives of those who wanted to create something new. And in their thinking, there was this spiritual awareness or a spiritual sensitivity. And looking around, they realized that we all have the right to be alive. We're God's children. We're the creation of the Creator. And that was an important idea to experience, that I am a child of God. And that everybody should have the chance to re-experience what we would define often as an awareness of self. I am free. I am at liberty. There's nothing holding me down. I have no thoughts that bring me down. Nothing impinging on my mind or in my life that would cause me to have a burden. Sometimes we are burdened by our association with our body, with our circumstances, with our health, with our finances. And so liberty, to be free from any of those thoughts. And some of the terminology we have here is moving from a limited body conscious state and freeing myself. Point of light, soul, energy, liberated in a place where nothing impinges upon me. And let me bring that feeling, the writers of the Constitution thought, and we will protect that. We'll protect the right for you to be physically and mentally at liberty. And when we are free, and when we are alive, those founders were thinking and writing and included some of the greatest thoughts throughout our history of humanity. That energy should flow. And to be happy is to participate. to offer, to allow ourselves to do the things that capture our skills, our talents. And let me offer those in my work, in my play, in any way I can, and bring that into my relationships to society. And when we all have our own gifts and we all give our gifts, we're nurtured, we're supported, we are happy. Our pursuit of happiness is in the moment. Let me access it. Let me be it. Let me have that consciousness that I am the one who makes myself happy. I have choice of what I think and what I do. And let me hold on to what the ancients in BC and philosophers and the writers of the Constitution, that you are a spiritual being. You have this quality from the Creator. And so use that. See yourself doing what it is with the gifts that you were given and making an offering of those. And know that the government here in this country protects that right for you to be that way. You have the right to be happy, to share happiness, and to live, no matter what your circumstances, with that feeling. So maybe a little new way to look at the pursuit of happiness, what is possible. But as we often sometimes do, we have a little chance for question and answer from audience. And so I'm going to invite Sister Louise to push the button on the left-hand side and bring her microphone up. And maybe we can entertain some thoughts from all of us, and then maybe we'll see if we might be able to hear something from the Zoom audience. So come on up, there's a chair if you want. And so, yeah, just tap on it. As needed, yeah, let's do that. Any thoughts from those here in person who came all the way to sit in the comfortable pews of Global Harmony House? Any thoughts, comments, inspirations?
There we
Yes.
go.
So
Yeah, wait.
camera, follow the microphone.
We can hear you.
Hi, my name is Jennifer. So while Eric was talking about this idea of karma, it's something that I've contemplated quite a bit. There are all these very simplistic definitions of what it is. And something came to mind that I did in my own life at a particular juncture. And I experienced something, and I feel like it was kind of karma. It was my own personal experience of karma on a much, much deeper level. So a situation arose where I had an opportunity to be useful to a family, to two children that were abandoned by their mother. It kind of fell into my lap. I knew the mother. It was a very tragic story. And I just did it. I just threw myself into this situation without thinking.
Okay.
And with a kind of abandon, and just like hit the ground running and just did what was necessary. I didn't have children myself. And so I just looked at this as an experience to embrace. And so I volunteered my time for several months. It wound up going longer than that. But after about 3 or 4 months, there was this rush of energy into me and a message that I got from a voice. And the message was, everything will be restored unto you. And I just got the chills. Like, this was so profound. But the most profound part of it was that something in me was able to do this with abandonment and not think, oh, I need to do this and I need to do this. It had more to do with relinquishing a customary effort and just like diving in.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. And so that sense of, sometimes we can overthink things, and that principle of, if I have the right intent, if I want to do something, things can work out in ways that I might not even imagine.
No, this particular scenario had no intent behind it.
Yeah.
I relinquished my identity. I just thought of nothing else. And I feel like that was a great exercise for me personally with my own brand of work, because I overthink everything. And it had more to do with not thinking and just being.
Nice. It's great. Thanks. Anyone
Anybody
else
here?
here?
Or question for Brother Eric? Comment?
All right.
Okay, you go to Zoom.
Ryan, by anybody, you can unmute them if you're there. And see if there's any other comments or thoughts, feedback. Right? I'm not sure if he's a little tricky sometimes. There it goes. All right. So
So,
we have a few more minutes, I think, right?
yeah, and any volunteers? Anybody in the chat? No? So as he's looking at, I guess we've all experienced changes in the world since Declaration of Independence. Judy, you want to speak?
Are they unmuted on Zoom? Okay.
We have Judy who has something.
Okay. Yeah, Judy?
Yes, good evening, and I'm Shanti, and how wonderful to be here with everybody. Thank you. Oh, a variety of thoughts. One is that in my spiritual explorations, I've come across very beneficial and meaningful phrases, including, and many may have heard of this as well, saying yes to life, and that we are on the field of action. And I've been in my retirement years now for a good while. So how to shape that, give that meaning, and I don't always like the word purpose, but on the other hand, I've heard some additional teachings from Stoicism and wonderful writings from ancient Greek philosophers, even kings, like, what am I here for? Not to roll over in bed in the morning and stay warm, but I'm here to be active, get up, make a contribution. I grew up with the teaching or understanding, spoken or unspoken, I'm in my world, you're in yours. And I never to ask for anything from anybody, but additionally not to give. It just, again, I'm here, you're there, you do your thing, I do my thing. And that's been completely shaken up and broken up very gladly. So now at my best moments, I'm very clear that I'm here with family, brother and sister, and there is no wall. And that so frees me. And I can think of a couple of instances where I really was reluctant to say yes, but I did. And it just was wonderful with one woman to whom I agreed to engage in certain activities, and I didn't wish to do it. And we're darling friends for so many years. And right now, other things are escaping me, but that's enough.
Okay.
And I appreciate the restatement and emphasis and valuing of being, we're here to be active and to have experiences, to contribute, to grow. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anyone else here? No, anyone on Zoom? No.
Zoom's quiet.
So I'm feeling that the world has changed a whole lot, and that vision is harder and harder.
The vision of the founders and the writers, what
Yes,
they had, yeah.
but it's glorious how you pointed that out.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's fascinating. And I would like, others maybe to tell that story of what the intent was and what the foundation was, that maybe that would spark, something a little different rather than separation and division. It seems that's not always so pleasant.
Am I the only one here who never thought that way before he introduced that? I mean, I've never had that vision. I've only seen it as something very political. And unfortunately, nowadays we're surrounded, but we're here. We're here. We're here because we're looking for exactly what's inside us all the time, according to what the founders said and according to what Brother Erik has said this evening. But it gets buried by, you mentioned body consciousness, and it gets buried. I had a tragic morning because my washer, my dryer conked, and I've got her coming in 2 days. And I had to do something. So I'd like to talk a little bit. I'd like to hear about method.
A method.
Yeah, I know what I had to do this morning. I had to elevate. It took a few minutes. It took an hour. I had to elevate out of the dryer, the washing machine dryer nonsense. And
Okay, great. And that's for me what I would need to do, because stuff happens and it's not always pleasant. Washer dryer is the example right now. It's not working. Okay, well, then there's this plan and expectation of this should work and it should work this way. And, we just kind of live on everything being in a certain way. The world should work the way I want it to all the time. And it doesn't. Okay. And so the choice for me in situations like that is first take a deep breath, that's not so much fun. And that's going to change my day. But then it's like, the choice is, do I want to sit in the emotion that mishap is caused and make it grow? Oh, why is this happening? Woe is me. This isn't the way it's supposed to be. I've got all these things. And have you ever dug that deeper and kind of made that feeling stronger? Or, okay, this is what it is. Pursuit of happiness. What am I going to do? Am I going to call someone? Am I going to send it out? I mean, what are my options? And let me move through that feeling with an action. Okay. And it's kind of simple. Here's the events. What am I going to be able to do? And if I can't do anything, then that's an action also, because I can't do anything. So let me not hold on to it and let me do something else. Okay. There's a lot of things happening. We had smoke here. What was it? A week ago, 2 weeks ago, and masks and horrible stuff. Not COVID. It was the forest fires. Okay. Didn't like it. Wasn't, it kind of interfered with what I was thinking I was going to do. But I didn't sit and say, oh, this is terrible. I had plans. This is horrible, and kind of stay in that moment. It's like, all right, what can I do? Well, I can't change the smoke. So let me do something else. And the ability to, and to me right now, this phrase, pursuing happiness. What can I do differently so that I don't get stuck in thoughts that are going to hold me down, shackle me, take away my freedom? And so those are the thoughts that if I let them would actually take away that freedom, bind me down, not allow me to move. And so can I do anything? Because I don't want to stay in that sad, upset feeling. Okay. Why? What can I do? And then I've got options. I'll do those options, move through it. And then the feeling I know reduces. Okay. And if I can't figure out what to do, then that actually helps me understand that here's something I don't know what to do. If I don't know what to do, that's okay. Then I can pause on that and just set it aside. I have to do something else.
I want to talk about what we did.
What'd you do?
We had a picnic.
Yeah,
How soon you
picnic.
forget.
There you go.
And you could smell the smoke if you wanted to. You could look up in the sky.
Not for the washer dryer, it was for the smoke.
No.
Okay.
no.
Dryer's done. Let's have a picnic.
It was a couple of weeks ago, and we had planned a nice picnic at a park here, the people here. And I said, is she going to cancel? Is Anjani going to cancel? What's going to happen? Well, those who weren't comfortable or couldn't come didn't. But I have to tell you that the joy, I think, was exacerbated by knowing what was going on. And I have never had so much fun with my sisters and brothers, playing like children by the water's edge,
Oh, that was
sharing wonderful
Sunken
food.
Meadow, right?
Yeah, Sunken Meadow Park. And it was the most beautiful experience together. But I looked up at the sky, I think twice, and only one person tried to talk about the sky or the smoke. And I, as politely as I could, said, I don't want to talk about that right now, because I wanted to grab that moment and share it. And that was
That's
the
right. The
solution.
world's on fire. Might as well have a nice coffee.
We're here now.
See how that goes. All right. Any final thoughts from anybody? Zoom, Harmony House? Because we're going to end with a song. And I'm hoping that Narayanbai, this is going to be our kind of our meditation song. Is that okay? We had a little reflection, but if it's okay, we're going to see if we might get into the spirit of this song for our closing.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news, talking this and that. Well, give me all you got and don't hold it back. Well, I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine. No offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Hey, go. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. The love is too high. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, bring me down, can't none bring me down. The love is too high. Bring me down, can't none
Don't let
bring
anybody
me
bring you
down. I
down.
said, 'cause I'm happy. Clap along
thought we started tonight.
Clap along if
I think so. It's the month of the Constitution here, so
Thank you, Brother Erik.
stay alive,
you feel like
give you
that's what
liberty,
you want.
and may you always be happy.
Clap
Thanks,
along
Dr.
if you feel like a room without a roof. Clap along
Happy
if you
Zoomer.
feel like happiness is the truth. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you.
Might be totally at the door.
Clap along if you
Very good. Thanks for coming. Good to see all of you.